Okay, this is going to be a walkthrough for your lesson starting the 20th of April. That's for the week starting the 20th of April. And you actually have till a week on Thursday, so the 30th of April, to complete all of the tasks. First thing I should do is, or I suggest, is don't try to complete it all at once. There's an awful lot of work here, and this would normally be sort of 5 or 6 lessons that you would get across a fortnight. But please aim to have this submitted in by the 30th. And to do that, remember, when you finish the tasks that are set for this week, hit the hand in button in the Google Classroom, and that way I'll know that you've submitted your work. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have opened up your virtual topic note set. And that's available to you. It'll make a copy for you as soon as you open it, and all of your answers, all of your tasks are going to be typed into that. Now, because as you type your answers, the note set will actually grow, I've included a PDF of the note set that is also in the main classwork section next to your note set, and it will look a little bit like this. And you obviously can't type into a PDF document, but it's there mainly because it's got the page numbers. And when I'm giving you instructions, for example, page 2 here, when I'm giving you instructions on the main sheet, you will see I refer to a page, and that is the page from the PDF note set, not from your own virtual topic note set, which clearly as the weeks go on will grow and grow. Okay, let's get started with the lesson. You're starting a new topic. We're going to be looking at the weather and what makes our weather. It's got some easy bits. It's got building on stuff you did right back in transition. So you will have some basic understanding of some of the themes we're dealing with, but it's also got some really quite complex things. I've got lots of different videos that I've made and that I've got from various sources that will help you engage with this topic and make it a bit more interesting to understand. And also, I'm going to be holding lessons most weeks where I'll be using the Google Meet to get you all together into a classroom where you can ask questions if you're struggling with any of the things in that particular week's work. You don't need to come to these classes. I won't be teaching anything new. They're really just an opportunity for you to drop in and answer questions. And you'll get an invite through the normal email for that. Okay, so here you can see all the different bits of knowledge and understanding you're going to gather, as well as the skills you're going to develop. And if you scroll down in your virtual note set to the first main page, page 2, you're going to learn about what the weather is. And if we have a little look here, your first set of tasks are actually where you have to read page 2. Now, that's from the PDF note set. Watch this video, which you will find is me explaining how to answer the task on page 2. I won't say anything more about that. It's pretty straightforward. But if you look at the task first, watch the video, and then answer the question, I'd suggest you pause at this stage, pause this video, and complete that task. Okay, I'm assuming you've now completed the task on page 2 and typed your answer on page 3. That will move you on to a new task on page 4, which is all about climate. Now, climate is a little bit different. Climate is the weather across the whole year, and we have the climate for both Crieff and for London. And the bars show us the rainfall, and the line on these graphs shows you the temperature, and there's also 2 scales. In order to complete this task and learn a little bit about climate graphs, can I ask you to read page 4, watch this video here, and then answer the 2 questions on page 5. Okay, so what I suggest you do now is pause the video. Once you've done that task, you can then complete the next stage. Okay, the next part of the lesson is for you to look at page 6, which is about describing rainfall and temperature across the UK. So we just have a quick little look at what that looks like on page 6. There we go. So this is the PDF note set I'm in, and we've got a key idea of describing and explaining the variations of weather. And here we have a couple of thematic maps that show the average rainfall across the UK, using colour to show the wettest and driest areas, and also the variations in our temperature across the whole of the UK, showing colour to show the colder and the warmer regions. You've got a task to complete there, and I've also given you a video here which I would like you to watch, which will help you answer that if you want to do it that way. So I suggest you pause it now, complete that task, and then move on. Okay, now we're back. We're going to move on out of sort of describing graphs and patterns of weather across the UK, and we're going to start to look at why are these variations actually happening. So why are there some hotter areas and some colder areas in the United Kingdom? Why are there some wetter and drier areas? We've got a little table here on page 8, which explores the main reasons. And those are the 6 main reasons there in a list. And then you have a task where you are being asked to answer this question, along with using your blue physical environments textbook. So you need to turn to page 9 and 10 of that particular textbook. You will find I have given you a nice explanation video of each of those main ideas that goes along with the textbook itself. If you watch the video, you'll see I explain each of the reasons why different areas of the UK have different temperatures. Once you've done that, you can use the textbook and the video to answer the question on page 9. So I suggest what you do is you pause the video at this stage, answer that question, and then go on to the next task. Okay, we're now on to page 11, which I'm just going to scroll down here. Beg your pardon. Page 10, which is to do with the variations in rainfall. Now, on the previous page, you were being asked to explain the variations in temperature. Rainfall is a little bit different. It's not got the same reasons why there are variations. You need to turn to page 1011 of the Physical Environments textbook. And I also invite you to watch this video, which is the Met Office explaining different types of rainfall that you get. Once you've watched the video, read page 10, use your textbook pages to answer that question, then you can actually answer the question on page 10 itself. Pause at this stage and then move on to the next task. Okay, the final task in today's lesson is on page 11. And I'm just going to have to talk a little bit about this. So if you've got to this task finally, you've probably been at it for a few hours. Here I am telling you about why Loch Lomond has a variation in its climate. So there's a reason why it gets a lot of rainfall, 2 major reasons why Loch Lomond gets a lot of rainfall. There's also sort of 4 reasons why Loch Lomond is quite a cold area of the United Kingdom. Once you've read those and maybe highlighted them in your virtual notes, and you can use a highlighter pen in your virtual notes if you can find how to use Google Docs to do that. That will bring you to the main tasks, which is how does the climate of Loch Lomond affect people in the landscape? So the main things we're thinking about is how does an area that gets a lot of rain and that is cold impact on how people live their lives? So let's have a think about rain first of all. A wet climate obviously is going to make growing certain crops quite difficult. And therefore it's going to lead generally to raising animals as a much easier farming pastime. Although certain crops like oats and barley do thrive in wetter climates, so you could grow them in the area, but it's unlikely you're going to grow things like wheat in a much wetter climate. So the type of farming you do is going to be affected by rain. Rain is going to mean that you're going to have a lot of water storage, big potential, especially because it's a glaciated area, which will then provide cities to the south with water. You've also got a lot of potential for hydroelectricity if you've got a very wet climate in Loch Lomond. If we think about temperature, though, that has quite a big impact. A colder area, once again, affects farming. You could possibly explain why colder climates suit sheep farming. We've already done that in the last topic. So you should be able to offer some reasons why sheep are more suited to a colder climate. It does impact on tourism because a lot of the year people can't necessarily visit, especially if it's colder and if it's wet. So it does restrict potential and numbers of people wishing to come to the area. You're also going to get less people actually wanting to live in an area, especially one that's cold and wet for a lot of the year. Walking, it's going to have an impact. There's only going to be certain periods of the year where people are going to come to walk or complete outdoor activities, especially because it's wet and cold. So I'm just giving you some ideas about how a wet, cold climate affects people in the landscape. If you actually think about how a wet, cold climate affects people in Crete in terms of higher heating bills, for example, in winter especially, then, because Crete is very similar to Loch Lomond, you've got yourself a detailed answer. There are 6 marks, so you must try to make 6 statements about the temperature and rainfall and how it affects people in Loch Lomond. And they should be sort of explanations about how people's lives are changing, how they have to adapt to a wetter and colder climate. Once you've completed that, you will receive feedback. For all of these questions, you'll get some marks. If you check back in your note set after you've handed it in, when it comes back to you, you'll see your teacher, whether it's me or Mr. Anderson, has given you some model answers, possibly, if we don't think your answer was good enough. And we will also have recorded marks for some of the questions that you have answered, especially ones that are exam questions that have marks for them. But please make sure, most importantly, and I'm going to type it down here, when you have completed these tasks, hit the hand-in button. Now, don't expect to get it back straight away. We will obviously have it marked for the following week. And if I can remind you, the due date for this is the 30th of April. So you've got a bit of time to do all of these tasks. Good luck, and hopefully I'll see you at the drop-in session in the first week of term, where you can ask questions about the tasks that have been set.